Hey, what is going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me today on this 21st day in a month of metal. The band I'm talking about today is Testament. They were a huge band for me, especially early on. Automatic fan when I heard The Legacy in 1987. Incredible album. I don't think it's their best album musically. That'd be pretty impressive if it was. But it's still my favorite album. I went through all their albums today, and by far, just because of how many times I heard it, how influential it was, yeah, that's still my favorite. So there's Over the Wall, top song, First Strike is Deadly, Curse of the Legions of Death, Do or Die. But really, that whole album, I could just listen to it. It brings back a lot of cool memories and just really enjoy it. The New Order came out the very next year. I wasn't as into it. It was still really good. Still when I saw them. It was not as fast, but it definitely was cleaner. Into the Pit, top song off of there for sure. Disciples of the Watch and The Preacher. I didn't realize this until today, but that is probably where I got the name for one of the main characters, the main bad guy in 25 Perfect Days, The Preacher. I always loved that song. It's actually, yeah, we'll keep it at number 3, but I do love that song. So yeah, so it probably influenced that. That's probably why I decided to call that main religious figure The Preacher. And it probably also influenced Ain't No Messiah, as one of the main characters in there is also a preacher or reverend. So, thank you guys for that influence. In yesterday's video, I misspoke, or I misremember. I do that shit all the time. If you guys haven't realized by now, I have a memory problem, a lot of traumatic brain injuries, a lot of drugs, a lot of shit like that. My memory fucking sucks. So it is impressive when I do remember these songs and I hear them, I'm like, oh yeah, I fucking love that one. But yesterday I mentioned that I still remembered getting, I think I said it was Souls of Black for my 17th birthday. It was actually Practice What You Preach. So that came out 2 weeks before I turned 17. We didn't have a lot of money, so presents, we didn't get much, but that's what I asked for from my parents. So I got that CD, Practice What You Preach, and probably only because it had the name Testament. They probably thought it was a religious album. Actually, they probably knew better than that, but maybe I spun it. Now, that album kind of had the same effect for me as The New Order. It was clean, it was good. Practice What You Preach, I really liked a lot. That song, Sins of Omission, Nightmare, Coming Back to You, also really good. And the Ballad. I think that's one of Testament's strongest points. It's not necessarily like what I like most about them, but their slow ballads are excellent. They're still heavy enough so I don't feel like a complete sissy listening to them, but just as a band, these guys are such great musicians. I think that's one of the things I really appreciate about them. That, intelligent lyrics, and just great storytelling. Off of the next album, Souls of Black, another solid album, pretty good. Souls of Black, like that song a lot. Facing the Sky and The Legacy would be my top picks. But again, it doesn't make it into my 3 favorite albums. The next album, The Ritual, which came out in '92, I was even less of a fan of that one. Again, good, solid music. I think I was just looking for faster music at that point. I wanted more thrash, and that album just wasn't as fast. But Electric Crown, Return to Serenity, another really good slow song, and So Many Lies were my top 3 picks off of that one. Low came out 2 years after that. Title track, probably number 1 song on there for me. Dog-Faced Gods, Ride, and Trail of Tears. Another slow one, but powerful song. Now the next album, I just realized I had never heard. I don't think I've had ever heard a song off of that album before, Demonic. Listened to it today, good, and I kind of was surprised because there's definitely a different sound, more death metal, and I kind of like the vocals more, but to me, most of the songs sounded pretty similar. They didn't sound that distinct. Off of there, the 3 songs I liked the most were Demonic Refusal, Burning Times, and Hatred's Rise. After that was First Strike Still Deadly, but that pretty much just has all the same songs I've already mentioned. All my favorite songs are pretty much on there. With the next album, The Formation of Damnation, that's when I really started getting back into being a fan, listening to their new stuff. Really good album. Title track, The Formation of Damnation, More Than Meets the Eye, and The Evil Has Landed. Alright, now that takes us to my second favorite album of theirs, Dark Roots of the Earth. That is an awesome album. Yeah, it's a better album than their first one, but for me it's my second favorite. True American Hate, #1 song on there, Rise Up, Native Blood, and so they got some really cool covers on there. Power Slave is my favorite of those covers. Off of Brotherhood of the Snake, which came out in 2016. Thought that was a really good album, really strong album. Title track was my #1 song on there. The Pale King, Stronghold, and Cannabis. Then 2 years later, they came out with The Gathering. Didn't care for that album as much. I mean, it was good. Down for Life, Legions of the Dead, and DNR were my top picks off of that one. But again, I think it's probably just because I didn't listen to them that much. And I hadn't heard Titans of Creation until right now. This was the first time I heard it. I haven't been listening, because I haven't been driving, I haven't been listening to much Sirius XM. I guess there's no reason for that. I could still be listening to it at home. But I've been listening to a lot of other shit. Well, each book I listen to certain things. And so lately I've been listening to a shitload of Rammstein and a couple other bands that I'm going to be mentioning in the next couple episodes. So I hadn't heard the Titans of Creation. Listened to it today. Fucking really liked it. Sucks that all these bands that released albums during the pandemic. How terrible was that? So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, definitely check it out. Buy it if you could, instead of just listen to it on Spotify to actually help these guys out. But off of there, Night of the Witch, Children of the Next Level, and World War III would be my top 3 picks. So even though they may not have directly influenced my writing, with the exception of The Preacher, I think all these bands definitely shaped me. You know, the imagery, the storytelling, the lyrics, just a big fan overall. So thank you to Testament for all the incredible music. That's awesome that they're still putting it out, what, 34 or so years after they started. That's pretty amazing. So unlike all these other pop bands, like how many pop bands are still around that were playing music in like 87? I don't know, because I don't fucking listen to them. But I'm sure there probably aren't too many. Anyhow, that's another story. So I'm going to wrap this up. Tomorrow I'm going to go, I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to do it, because it's not like I was a giant fan, but there was a while where I was a really big fan of Gwar. Never saw them live, so not like a huge fan, and it was just the early music, but I thought it'd be fun to go through, see what they've come up with since, which songs I like, which ones I don't. I don't know how many, there might be a couple that I like that I'm not going to admit on here because it's not very PC, but whatever, we'll see what happens. So that will be tomorrow. Alright guys, thanks for checking this out. Stay metal. Later.